She wins a prestigious scholarship, but her sister spreads rumors that she bribed the committee. The humiliation forces her to fight for her reputation, only to uncover that the committee itself is hiding a scandal. The room was silent when I tore open the envelope. My hands trembled, not from fear but from the weight of anticipation. The scholarship letter lay inside, its bold print declaring me the recipient of an honor I had dreamed about for years. For a moment I couldn't breathe. My mother's eyes widened, shimmering with tears, while my father's proud smile seemed to light up the entire house. They pulled me into their arms, whispering words of pride and love. It should have been the happiest day of my life. But even in that moment of triumph, I noticed my sister standing in the corner. Her lips curved into a smile, but her eyes told another story. There was no warmth in them, only a flicker of envy that she tried to hide. I brushed it off, convincing myself she would come around. After all, she was my sister. Surely she would celebrate with me. The days that followed were filled with congratulations. Teachers praised me, neighbors stopped by to shake my hand, and relatives called to say how proud they were. I walked through the streets with my head held high, feeling as though the world had finally recognized my hard work. Yet beneath the surface, something darker was brewing. It began with whispers. At first I overheard them faintly, two women at the market murmuring that scholarships like mine were never won fairly. Then a neighbor casually mentioned that connections often played a role in such awards. I laughed it off, telling myself people always found ways to diminish someone else's success. But the whispers grew louder, sharper, and more pointed. One afternoon, I overheard my sister speaking to a group of friends outside our gate. Her voice carried just enough for me to catch the words. She didn't win it honestly. Everyone knows she bribed the committee. My heart stopped. I froze in place, unable to believe what I had heard. She spoke with such confidence as though she had proof. The friends nodded, some smirking, others whispering among themselves. I wanted to confront her right then, but my legs felt heavy. Instead, I retreated inside, my mind spinning. Why would she say such a thing? Was jealousy so strong that it could turn blood into poison? That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying her words over and over. The rumors spread quickly. At school, I noticed teachers exchanging glances when I walked into the classroom. A few students whispered behind my back, their laughter cutting through me like glass. Even strangers seemed to look at me differently, their eyes filled with suspicion. The scholarship that had once been a symbol of pride now felt like a burden I carried everywhere. The humiliation reached its peak at a family gathering. I walked into the room expecting warmth and celebration, but instead conversations hushed as I entered. People avoided my gaze, their smiles forced, their words clipped. One relative leaned in and asked quietly, "Is it true? Did you pay them off?" My throat tightened. I wanted to scream, to defend myself, but the weight of their doubt pressed down on me. Later that evening, my closest friend pulled me aside. "Tell me honestly," she said, her voice trembling, "did you really bribe them?" The question shattered me. This was someone who had known me for years, someone who had seen me study late into the night, sacrificing sleep and comfort for my dreams. Yet even she doubted me. I forced a smile, shaking my head, but inside I felt my confidence crumble. My sister's betrayal cut deeper than any rumor. He came to me one night, pretending to care. "I know people are talking," she said softly, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Don't worry, I'll defend you." Her words sounded sweet, but her eyes betrayed her. I knew she was the one fueling the fire. The realization was devastating. Blood ties, I learned, do not always mean loyalty. The breaking point came when the scholarship committee summoned me. I walked into their office, my heart pounding. The room was cold, the walls lined with certificates and photographs of past winners. The committee members sat across from me, their faces stern, their voices sharp. "We've heard troubling rumors," one of them said. "We need to know if there is any truth to them." I tried to speak, but my voice faltered. Their tone made me feel guilty even though I was innocent. Every word I uttered seemed weak against their suspicion. I explained my achievements, my grades, my dedication, but their expressions remained unreadable. When I left the room, my legs felt like they could barely carry me. The air outside was heavy, pressing down on me. I realized then that my reputation was hanging by a thread. The scholarship that had once been my triumph was now a battlefield, and I was fighting not just for recognition but for survival. That night, I sat alone in my room, staring at the letter that had once brought me joy. Its words now felt hollow, tainted by doubt and betrayal. I thought of my parents, their pride slowly turning into worry. I thought of my sister, her envy twisting into cruelty. And I thought of myself caught in a storm I never asked for. Yet even in that darkness, a spark of determination flickered within me. I knew I couldn't let the lies define me. I had worked too hard, sacrificed too much, to let my sister's jealousy destroy everything. The battle had only begun, and though I felt broken, I also felt a quiet strength rising inside me. The triumph was mine, but the betrayal was real. And now I understood that the path ahead would not be about celebrating success. It would be about fighting for the truth. I sat in my room that night, the scholarship letter spread out before me like a fragile piece of evidence. Its words had once filled me with pride, but now they seemed almost mocking. My reputation was slipping away, and I knew I couldn't just sit back and watch it crumble. If the world wanted proof of my honesty, then I would give it to them. The next morning I began my mission. I walked through the neighborhood, stopping at houses where I knew the whispers had taken root. At each door I spoke calmly, my voice steady even when my heart raced. I showed them my grades, certificates, and the long list of achievements that had earned me the scholarship. Some nodded, embarrassed by their doubts, while others crossed their arms, unwilling to let go of the gossip. Their skepticism stung, but I refused to retreat. Silence would only make the lies stronger. One afternoon I visited Mrs. Kahn, a respected elder in our community. She had always been kind to me, but when I entered her home, I saw hesitation in her eyes. "Child," she said softly, "people don't invent stories without reason." I swallowed hard, forcing myself to reply. "Sometimes they do, when jealousy blinds them." My words hung in the air, heavy and sharp. She studied me for a long moment before sighing. "I hope you're right." That small exchange reminded me that trust, once broken, was not easily repaired. But confronting neighbors wasn't enough. I realized the real battle lay within the committee itself. If I wanted to silence the rumors, I had to dig deeper to uncover the truth behind their decisions. So I turned to the library, spending long nights surrounded by dusty records and faded documents. The silence of the reading room became my companion, broken only by the scratching of my pen as I took notes. I reached out to former scholarship winners, arranging quiet meetings in cafes and parks. Some were eager to share their experiences, while others seemed nervous, glancing over their shoulders as if afraid of being overheard. Their stories painted a troubling picture. Students with average grades winning awards, while others with exceptional records were overlooked. The inconsistencies gnawed at me, fueling my determination. One evening as I left the library, I encountered Professor Malik, a retired academic known for his sharp mind and blunt honesty. He looked at me with weary eyes and said, "Be careful, child. The committee guards its secrets closely. You may find more than you're prepared for." His warning unsettled me, but it also strengthened my resolve. If there were secrets, I needed to uncover them. At home, my sister watched my efforts with amusement. "You're wasting your time," she sneered. "No one will ever trust you again. You'll always be the girl who cheated her way to success." Her words cut deep, but instead of breaking me, they hardened my resolve. I stared at her, my voice steady. "You started this. And I will finish it." Days turned into weeks, and my investigation grew more intense. I discovered a trail of favoritism woven through the committee's records. Names of wealthy families appeared repeatedly, their children winning scholarships despite poor performance. The evidence was subtle but undeniable. Each discovery sent a surge of hope through me, reminding me that the truth was within reach. One night I stumbled upon a file tucked away in the library archives. It contained letters from influential figures recommending certain students for awards. The language was polite, but the intent was clear. Connections mattered more than merit. My hands shook as I read, realizing I had found the first real crack in the committee's facade. I shared my findings with a trusted teacher, Mr. Ahmed. He listened carefully, his brow furrowed. "This is serious," he said. "But you must tread carefully. Powerful people don't like being exposed." His words echoed Professor Malik's warning, but I couldn't turn back now. My honor was at stake, and I would not let fear silence me. The more I uncovered, the more dangerous the path became. One evening, I returned home to find an anonymous note slipped under the door. It read simply, "Stop digging or you'll regret it." My hands trembled as I held the paper, but instead of fear I felt a surge of defiance. Whoever sent it underestimated me. I wasn't going to stop. I began keeping my notes hidden, locking them away in a drawer. I trusted no one except myself. Even my parents, though supportive, worried about the risks I was taking. "You're just one person," my mother whispered one night. "How can you fight against them?" I looked at her, my voice firm. "Because I have the truth, and that's stronger than their lies." The investigation consumed me. I skipped social gatherings, ignored idle chatter, and focused entirely on my mission. My friends noticed the change, some drifting away, others offering quiet support. I didn't blame them. Not everyone was willing to stand against the tide. One afternoon I visited the office of a former committee clerk. He was hesitant at first, but after some persuasion he admitted that certain families had influence over the decisions. His words confirmed what I already suspected, but hearing them aloud gave me renewed strength. Meanwhile, my sister grew bolder in her cruelty. She mocked me at dinner, rolling her eyes whenever I spoke. "You think you're some kind of detective," she laughed. "But all you'll find is disappointment." I met her gaze, refusing to flinch. "You'll see," I said quietly. "You'll see who's right." The turning point came when I uncovered a list of scholarship recipients from the past decade. Comparing their grades with their awards revealed glaring discrepancies. Students with failing marks had been chosen over those with top scores. The pattern was undeniable. My heart raced as I realized I had enough evidence to challenge the committee. But even as hope flickered, doubt lingered. What if no one believed me? What if the truth was buried, dismissed as another rumor? I wrestled with these fears late at night, staring at the ceiling, listening to the ticking of the clock. Yet each time doubt crept in, I remembered the humiliation I had endured, the betrayal of my sister, and the cold suspicion of the committee. Those memories fueled me, reminding me why I couldn't stop. The fight for my reputation had become more than a personal battle. It was a quest for justice, a struggle against corruption that tainted not only my honor but the dreams of countless students. And though the road ahead was uncertain, I knew one thing with absolute clarity: I would not rest until the truth was revealed. The evidence I had gathered sat in front of me, spread across my desk like fragments of a puzzle. Old letters, faded financial records, testimonies scribbled on paper. All of it felt heavy, as though each sheet carried the weight of my future. I knew one mistake could ruin everything. If I presented even a single weak piece, the committee would dismiss me and the rumors would cling to me forever. So I handled each document with care, reading and rereading, making sure every detail aligned. The threats began soon after. At first they were subtle. Anonymous notes slipped under my door warning me to stop digging. One read, "You don't know who you're dealing with." Another said, "Walk away before it's too late." My hands shook as I held those notes, but instead of fear I felt a strange calm. They wouldn't be threatening me if I wasn't close to the truth. Fear mixed with courage, and I realized I was preparing for a storm that could change everything. One evening as I left the library, a man in a dark coat stopped me. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "You're making enemies," he said. "People in power don't forgive easily." I stared at him, my heart pounding, but I refused to back down. Then they should have thought twice before betraying the students they were meant to support. He gave me a long look before walking away, leaving me with the echo of his warning. At home, my sister's mask began to crack. She had enjoyed watching me suffer when the rumors spread, but now she realized the scandal was bigger than her lies. One night she came into my room, her face pale. "Stop this," she pleaded. "You don't understand what you're getting into. If you expose them, it won't just hurt the committee, it'll hurt me too." I looked at her, anger rising in my chest. "You started this war," I said quietly. "You spread the lies. Now you're afraid of the truth." She tried to argue, but I turned away, unwilling to let her guilt soften me. For once she was the one trembling and I was the one standing firm. The day of the community meeting arrived. I walked into the hall carrying a folder filled with my evidence. The room was crowded. Neighbors, teachers, students, even parents who had once doubted me. Their eyes followed me as I stepped to the front. My hands trembled slightly, but my voice was steady. "I was accused of bribing the committee," I began. "But tonight I will show you the truth." I laid out the documents one by one. Letters from influential families recommending undeserving students. Financial records showing donations made just before certain scholarships were awarded. Testimonies from former winners who admitted they had been chosen despite poor grades. Each piece was like a blade cutting through the silence. Gasps filled the room. People leaned forward, whispering to one another. Some shook their heads in disbelief, while others stared at the committee members seated in the front row. Their faces turned pale, their eyes darting nervously. One man stood up, his voice trembling. "This is outrageous. We trusted you." His words echoed through the hall, and suddenly the crowd erupted. Accusations flew, voices rose, and the committee members tried to defend themselves, but the evidence was undeniable. My sister sat in the corner, her face flushed. She avoided my gaze, shrinking into her seat as the truth unraveled. For the first time she was silent. The committee members were forced to resign that night. Their scandal was exposed, their power stripped away. The very people who had doubted me now looked at me with respect, their eyes filled with apology. After the meeting, I stepped outside into the cool night air. The stars shone brightly above, and for the first time in weeks I felt free. My scholarship was mine again, not tainted by lies or suspicion. My dignity had been restored, and the weight on my shoulders had lifted. My sister approached me slowly, her voice barely audible. "I didn't think it would go this far," she whispered. I looked at her, my heart heavy but resolute. "You wanted to destroy me. Instead, you destroyed yourself." She turned away, tears glistening in her eyes, but I felt no pity. Some lessons must be learned the hard way. In the days that followed, the community treated me differently. Neighbors who had once avoided me now greeted me warmly. Teachers praised my courage, and friends who had doubted me apologized sincerely. It wasn't just about the scholarship anymore. It was about reclaiming my honor, proving that truth could stand against lies. I walked through the streets with my head held high, not out of arrogance but out of relief. Betrayal had broken me once, but courage had rebuilt me. I realized that strength doesn't come from avoiding pain. It comes from facing it even when the odds are against you. One evening I sat with my parents in the garden. My mother held my hand, her eyes shining with pride. "You've shown us all what it means to fight with dignity," she said softly. My father nodded, his voice firm. "You didn't just win back your scholarship. You won back yourself." Their words stayed with me. I had walked through fire, but I had come out stronger. My sister remained isolated, her lies revealed, her reputation shattered. And though part of me wished things had been different between us, I knew some wounds could never heal. As I looked at the stars that night, I felt a quiet peace settle over me. Betrayal may break you, but truth and courage can rebuild you. And in that moment I knew my journey was complete, not because I had won a scholarship but because I had won back my voice, my honor, and my strength.